Hello everyone. Today the topic we'll talk about is coastal process and its effect. Coastal landforms are created by a wide variety of coastal processes. And there are two major type processes, which is erosion and accretion. The coast, also known as the coastline or seashore, is defined as the area where land meets the sea or ocean, or as a line that forms the boundary between the land and the ocean or lake. The shoreline is affected by waves produced by wind at sea. And today we will know erosion, accretion, and for typical hazard, wave, sea level change, storm surge, saltwater intrusion, groundwater, aquifer, effect of saltwater intrusion, mitigation and adaptation. Now, let's hear the reporters.
Erosion. What is erosion? Erosion is the geological process in which earthen materials are worn away and transported by natural force such as wind or water. There are three types of erosion, which are soil erosion, water erosion, and last but the least, wind erosion. First, what is soil erosion? Soil erosion is the displacement of the upper layer of soil. It is a form of soil degradation. And what is the causes of soil erosion? The causes of soil erosion is running water is the leading cause of soil erosion, because water is abundant and has a lot of power. Wind is also leading cause of soil erosion, because wind can pick up soil and blow it for activities that remove vegetation, disturb the ground, or allow the ground to dry are the activities that increase erosion. And what is the effect of soil erosion? The effect of soil erosion is go beyond the loss of fertile land. It has led to increased pollution and sedimentation in streams and rivers, clogging these waterways and causing declines in fish and other species. And degraded lands are also often less able to hold onto water, which can worsen floodings. Now let's proceed to the second type of erosion, which is water erosion. So what is water erosion? Water erosion is the detachment and removal of soil material by water. The process may be natural or accelerated by human activity. The rate of erosion may be very slow to very rapid, depending on the soil, the local landscape, and weather condition. Water erosion wears away the earth's surface. And what is the causes? The causes of water erosion is cause of topsoil, reduced crop yields, damage, infrastructure with reprisal, eutrophication, and silting of dams and natural waterways. Next is the effect of water erosion. When rainwater falls, it causes soil or water erosion. Rainwater sweeps away the topsoil, which exposes the layer beneath it to the natural elements and increases carbon dioxide release. This is a slow process that develops over time, and it is not always harmful to ecosystem. However, the process can happen very quickly and cause negative effect on various aspects of the ecosystem. And the last one, types of erosion, is the wind erosion. Wind erosion is a natural process that moves soil from one location to another by the wind power. The causes of wind erosion can be caused by a light wind that rolls soil's particles along the surface through to a strong wind that lifts a large volume of soil particles into the air to create dust storm. The effect of wind erosion is not only does wind erosion damage land by drying out soil and reducing the nutrients of the land, It can also cause air pollution, involving crops, converting highways, and invading homes. The sand, dust, and dirt created from wind erosion can impact plant and human life in numerous ways.
Accretion is the gradual increase in the area of land as a result of sedimentation. Accretion is the process of coastal sediment returning to the visible portion of a beach or foreshore after a submersion effect. Type of coastal hazard.
Good day everyone. Today we will talking about waves. Waves are generated by offshore winds, sometimes thousands of kilometers from where the waves reach the shoreline. Rogue waves. Gigantic and extremely dangerous waves. As waves move away from their point of origin, they short themselves into set of similarly sized waves. Occasionally, a rogue wave will appear that is much larger than the rest. Rogue waves can strike the shore and somewhere in the open ocean. This type of waves may reach a height of 100 feet. So waves involve transport of energy without the transport of matter. In inclusion, a wave can be described as disturbance that travel through a medium, transporting energy from one location, its source, to another location without transporting matter. Waves come in two kinds, longitudinal and transverse. Transverse waves are like those on water with the surface going up and down. And longitudinal waves are like of those of sound consisting of alternating compression and reflection in a medium.
Sea level rise is an increase in the level of the world's ocean due to the effects of global warming. The change in sea levels is linked to three primary factors: thermal expansion, melting glaciers, loss of Greenland and Antarctica's ice sheet. Global sea level has been rising over the past century, and the rate has increased in recent decades. In 2014, global sea level was 2.6 inches above the 1993 average, the highest annual average in the satellite record. Sea level continues to rise at a rate of above 1/8 of an inch per year. Sea level is measured by two main methods: tide gauge and satellite altimeters. The effects of sea level rise. When sea levels rise as rapidly as they have been, even a small increase can have devastating effect on coastal habitats further inland. It can cause destructive erosion, wetland flooding, aquifer and agricultural soil contamination with salt, and lose habitat for fish, birds, and plants. Flooding in low-lying coastal areas is forcing people to migrate to higher ground, and millions more are vulnerable from flood risks and other climate effects. The prospect of higher coastal water levels threatens basic services such as internet access, since much of the underlying communication infrastructure lies in the path of rising seas.
Storm surge. Storm surge is the local rise of sea level that results primarily from water that is pushed towards the shore by wind that swirls around the storm. And we have two mechanisms that cause the storm surge during an intense cyclone are: number one is stress exerted by wind on the water surface. Number two, low atmospheric pressure in the storm that sucks up the sea surface.
Salt water. In a coastal area where there is an interaction between the salt water and fresh, salt water intrusion is one of the hazards that are evident in that area. Salt water intrusion is the movement of salt water into the freshwater aquifer. The natural flow is that the fresh water, which is less dense, moves towards the denser salt water. But if the fresh water is being withdrawn faster than it is being replenished, then there will be a change in pressure and salt water intrusion will be occurred. The well withdraws groundwater very fast, replaced by a salt water due to pressure difference. If it continues, the well will be filled with salt water rather than fresh water. There are a few ways of preventing salt water intrusion. One is to stop using the well where fresh water has been deflated and let the groundwater replace it. Through the water cycle. The other method is to build two wells, a pumping wells built closer to the coast. Using the injection well, fresh water is pumping into the aquifer to prevent salt water from intruding. An injection well and a pumping well are both built to maintain the barrier between the salt water and the fresh water. The different marine and coastal hazards often occur in the Philippines, being an archipelago with the longest coastal line. Manila Bay is one of the coastal area of the Philippines that is facing various threats from both natural and anthropological causes. Saltwater intrusion occurred due to uncontrolled withdrawal of groundwater to be used by residential, commercial, and industrial area built around. It is also frequently flooded due to poor drainage system and improper disposal of waste. Since Manila Bay is shared by 4 coastal provinces, 4 non-coastal provinces, and the National Capital Region, each local government unit and national agencies need to collaborate in planning, developing, and managing its marine and coastal resources. And it is not only Manila Bay but other part as well. For as long as they are in coastal area, hazard will mostly likely occur if not immediately addressed. Manila Bay is a coastal area shared by different cities and provinces. Thus, working together is a must to implement disaster preparedness and mitigation.
Groundwater is the water present in the Earth's surface, in soil or the space, and in the areas of rock formations. A unit of rock or unconsolidated deposit is called an aquifer. When it near unstable quantity of water. Groundwater. The water beneath the surface of the ground consisting largely of surface water that has seeped down. The source of water in springs and wells.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of you, especially good afternoon, Sir Jaime Datukan. My report today is all about aquifer. This image of aquifer. This illustration shows the two most common types of aquifers: confined aquifers and unconfined aquifers. Unconfined aquifers can receive water directly from the surface, while a confined aquifer is trapped between two layers of rock. Based on my opinion, this is the picture of aquifers. To show here how other aquifers cannot flow because of the rock blocking it. So sometimes we see water stuck because they cannot flow properly because of the rocks. So kaya minsan nakikita tayong mga tubig na naka-stuck lang kung saan dahil yun di sila nakakadali ng maayos dahil sa kadahilanan na ng may bato o may nakaran sa dinadaluyan nila, kaya minsan na-stuck talaga yung mga tubig o aquifers. Kaya minsan naubos din ng ating aquifers sa kadahilanan din ng natin mga tao na minsan gumagawa ng mga balon tapos yun. Then minsan dumadaloy na lang yung aquifer sa mismong bukal. So yun lang po. Good afternoon ulit. Thank you.
Effects of saltwater intrusion. The limited potable drinking water supply in areas affected by saltwater intrusion. Salinity in irrigation water can be detrimental to agriculture, reducing yields and killing crops with low tolerance to salt. Saltwater intrusion leads to the loss of freshwater vegetation and spread of soil and mud flats into previously vegetated areas. They can lead to destructive of crocodile breeding grounds, and magpie case habitat can impact on the ability of the local Aboriginal people to hunt and gather food.
How does saltwater intrusion affect the environment? Saltwater intrusion can result in the need for water utilities to increase treatment, relocate water intakes, or development of alternate sources of fresh water. Saltwater intrusion to surface or groundwater sources may diminish the ability or quality of source waters for drinking water utilities.
Hello, my name is Gwen, and I'm doing a report on mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation and adaptation is a responsive adjustment to an environmental condition and the action taken to reduce the severity. Mitigation and adaptation of coastal hazards, evacuation plans, and shelter. Whereas most governmental agencies, planners, and policy makers have an adequate perception and understanding of storm surges, many individuals do not. The public knowledge of storm surges, anticipation to future storm surges, and willingness to accept adjustments caused by the hazard are highly variable. Relocating people from coastal erosion and storm surge-prone areas could be an initiative by the government or residents of storm surges-prone areas. Education. Educational effort could include the public distribution of pamphlets and videos, workshops, and trainings for the engineers, architects, and the people of the community. And the availability of information on the internet. Education is also a means for people to mitigate and adapt to natural hazards. It can increase mass awareness regarding natural hazards, thus increasing their chances of survival. It is also a means of promoting access to information and resources that will help individuals be better prepared for coastal hazards. Lastly, formal education can empower individuals to be more adaptive in their responses to and recovery from natural hazards. Prevention and control of saltwater intrusion. Reducing pumping or using timeshare pumping from a number of wells, relocating wells, or redesign the well field. The Philippines is located in a disaster risk area and hazards will always be present. The government's response to mitigate and adapt to these hazards is through the creation of hazard maps. Hazard maps are developed to indicate the places where most of the natural hazards usually occur or will most likely occur. Identifying these places can aid in informed land use, and the persons in charge can create emergency response plans. The proper knowledge of hazards and the actions to be taken if ever they occur will help in the reduction and mitigation of the dangers of these natural hazards to life and property. In the Philippines, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, DENR, created a geohazard mapping and assessment program implemented by the Mines and Geosciences Bureau. They are also responsible for developing the hazard maps. Aside from the development of hazard maps, action plans should be conceptualized to identify the priorities for action and plan for the possible impacts affecting the country. Local programs should be established to help the people who are most affected by natural disasters recover from their losses. Such programs can include training the people to innovate and think out of the box, to come up with ideas or solutions that will be more effective for their livelihood. In the next slide, we will tackle what we will do before, during, after the typhoon. The following are the things to do before, during, and after the typhoon. Before, inspect your house for any holes or damage and clean your drainage systems. Store non-perishable food, water, first aid supplies, flashlights, radios, and batteries. Prepare a family communications plan. Stay informed by following the news. In the next slide, we will know what we will do during the typhoon. During, keep calm. If evacuation is issued, follow immediately. If not, stay indoors. If there are signs of flooding, better turn off the main source of electricity and keep electrical gadgets and appliances in higher areas. Wear protective gear. If you plan on walking through flooded areas to avoid inflicting waterborne disease. After, check your house for any damage and clean the places that might become breeding places for mosquitoes. Watch out for live wires and outlets that have been submerged in water. Ask someone knowledgeable in electrical wirings to check them. Boil water first before drinking to make sure that it is not contaminated. Tune into radio broadcasts to be updated on disaster prevention instructions. And that's all. Thank you for listening.
Hope you learned something. Thank you.